Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Business Unusual interview series, episode 2. My name is Jessa Lux, and I get to be your host for this series. I'm also the community manager for a digital design company called Click Studios. This series is here to help you navigate business during coronavirus by bringing insights and perspectives from top business minds. And today I have the privilege of talking to Jill Frank, the head of creative at Allstate. Jill, I've been so excited to have this conversation with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you, Jessa. And I do have to say my title is Head of Creative Agency Operations. And I should have told you that before we started. Sorry.
That's fine. This is Jill Frank, Head of Creative Agency Operations at Allstate.
There you go.
Okay. So Jill, I mentioned before our conversation that I'm going to try to keep this interview to just 10 minutes, which is going to be incredibly difficult because there's so much that I could learn from you and I could ask you 100 questions, but I promise I won't. And I'm going to keep my commentary to an absolute minimum. But if you wouldn't mind starting by just giving us a little bit of background about yourself to set the stage for our conversation.
Yeah, sure. So, my name is Jill Frank, and I lead creative agency operations for Allstate. It's a role that is new to me since January. And, really what I do for Allstate is lead initiatives that bring structure, order, process to creative workflow. My background, I'm a writer, I'm a producer by kind of background and experience. And so I'm very focused and interested in moving work through the system and kind of getting work over the 5-yard line, right? And so prior to joining at Allstate, I was in the agency world, leading production as well as business operations for Epsilon Agency, which is a data-driven marketing company. And before that, in a past life, I spent 10 years at the Oprah show and working at Harpo Studios here in Chicago, writing, producing, and creating, making magic every day, basically, is what we did there.
Yeah, and now viewers can see why there could be 100 questions that I could ask you. And so a lot of our viewers are upper-level marketing people. Would you mind telling us a little bit about your and your team at Allstate's approach to marketing right now?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, marketing has changed so much. Like, not just marketing, the world has changed like overnight. And I think, we're all still kind of grappling with like, what do you do with that? And I think there's a few things. I mean, I think, specifically at Allstate, we're talking about making sure that we're showing up and supporting our customers first and foremost. And, we swirled a lot about like, brand messaging and what to say and where to put ourselves out. And we really ultimately said, like, let's just walk the walk instead of talking the talk. And so, immediately it was kind of a no-brainer in the insurance industry, which is a business that I'm just getting to learn. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out people aren't driving right now. And so if people aren't driving right now, that means that there's less accidents on the road. And if there's less accidents on the road, it means that there's more money available. And so it was kind of a no-brainer to immediately issue a very significant shelter-in-place payback is what we're calling it, to give money just back to consumers because we knew that, our customers are driving less. And we could, very quickly identify the behavior to the profit, right? And so wanting to get people money back was like the number one thing, which I think is awesome. And I was really impressed with how swiftly we as a company were able to move and issue that. We were like the first out of the gate to do that. And it really wasn't like a publicity pay. It was just, it was the right thing to do. So we did it. And then I think it's been very exciting and interesting for me to be a part of such a giant company that has the ability to do kind of all of this really good stuff in the community. So through corporate giving and our Allstate Foundation, we're giving money back and partnering with nonprofits and kind of people who can really be good stewards of the money that we're able to give, rather than us kind of trying to do our own thing. Like, let's give the money to the people that can accelerate and push forth some good. And that's really kind of what our focus has been about. Like, how do we show up for our customers? how does the company show up for the employees? So it's been just a really great time to be an Allstater and to be at Allstate, and I'm thankful for the whole experience. Yeah.
Wow, I love that. Yeah, it has to feel great for you, and your customers have to be so appreciative of that. I'm sure that that won't be forgotten soon. So
Yeah.
that's really cool to hear, and it's cool to see a lot of companies trying to see, how they can do the right thing right now.
Absolutely. And certainly, like, not every company is an Allstate. Like, let's be very clear that, like, we have a lot of, we have a lot of stuff. We have a lot of everything. We've got a lot of people. We've got, a large employee list. We've got a lot of offices. We've got a lot of profit, like, I think though that every brand and business has the opportunity to affect what they can and do kind of what uniquely they can do in this time. And I think that authenticity is just really ringing true for anybody who's consuming content, who's experiencing this whole thing. Like, people are seeking truth and reality, right? In this upside down reality that we're all living in.
Yeah, it does feel very upside down.
Yeah.
I want to also talk to you about leadership and inspiration and motivation. So let's just start there. What or who is inspiring you most right now?
Wow, that's a really great question. I'm being really inspired by a lot of kind of like lo-fi production stuff right now. Like, I think it's so interesting to see what creative things people are doing. I love John Krasinski's Good News show. I mean, it's genius. Having the cast of Hamilton reunite for a girl who couldn't get to go to the show. I mean, those moments are, and they're imperfect, and they're not like highly produced. And again, like I said, Oprah show 10 years, like, I get high production quality, and at the end of the day, like, the content is cutting through regardless of the, if you're filming on your iPad or whatever. Listening to a lot of music, a lot of like 60s and 70s. James Taylor's Instagram is like awesome. He's like doing live shows from his house. And it's interesting, like, all those kind of like protest songs and 60s and 70s songs are really feeling very true right now, right? I mean, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of hurt and pain in the world, and we are living through something that's unprecedented. And so really just kind of like trying to find my light sources where I can. Glennon Doyle, I'm reading her book Untamed right now, which is amazing. And she does like a daily Instagram morning meeting, which is basically like a little like pep talk. And so I'm really finding a lot of inspiration in these people who are just using their voice and being authentic, which is awesome.
Totally.
A little doggy in the background, so cute.
He must be famous. I've never seen him walk around so much. He's 15 years old, and now all of a sudden he is in and out, and he's wearing shoes right now too. So
I love it. So sweet. It is nice, like, the humanity that you start to see through all of this, right? Like,
totally.
Yeah,
that is really special. Those moments that you get to see with your coworkers and people that you work with. We're all really working as a team to do our best and juggling a lot of things, like like pups and families.
Absolutely. Yep, I've got a 5 and a 3, and they are like not in the house right now.
Yeah, I'm sure that can be tough. So, Jill, I know that you lead a creative team, and we're hearing that teams are experiencing a little bit of a general lethargy right now. As a leader of a team, what are you doing to keep your team motivated?
You know what? That's it's a very hard thing, because I think that a lot of times leaders feel like they have to fake it till they make it, or put themselves out there and be the cheerleader, be the coach, be the support system, be the therapist, be, all of the things that aren't, we're people, right? And I think when you look at, especially in marketing and advertising, and anything creative pursuit wise, like, it's so important to have those like individual bonds with the people that you work with, that are cultivated in an office every day, right? And so it's been a unique situation because I'm also, only a couple months in at my current role. We have a lot of people who are joining the team, who are new. And, I'm a coffee chat person. I like to sit down and grab coffee with people and tell me about what you do and tell me about what your goals are, what your dreams are. And, it doesn't quite play as true or as authentic in a Zoom call, just quite honestly. And so I think, having some, awareness of that ability, that ability to motivate and inspire and engage with people is going to look different. And let's not try to pretend that this is fine and we're sitting in the Allstate cafe sharing coffee and chatting about our morning commute. It's not happening. So I feel like there's a couple of things in terms of actual tips for leaders. Number one, you've got to take care of yourself and lead by example. And so I think, for me as a mom, that looks like, shifting my hours where I need to shift my hours, pushing back on not just accepting every meeting that comes my way, and saying, actually, can we move this? And this is why. Making sure that I'm being courteous and respectful to everybody that I'm working with to make sure that, I'm aware of what their general schedules are, not popping kind of surprise meetings and phone calls and that kind of stuff on people, and really just showing grace, right, for ourselves as well as for everyone that we're working with. And I think, we always said at the Oprah show, you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you can put the oxygen mask on anybody else. That's like flying 101. We're not doing much of that right now, but, it really is, it rings true. I think that, when you can lead by example and just, take care of yourself so that you can then take care of your employees. And then it's just checking in. I so appreciate, for my boss and my leadership, the check-ins, the, are you taking time for yourself? How's everything going? How are you doing today? That's a really great, how are you today is a great sentence for people who are dealing with trauma and grief, which is what we are all dealing with collectively right now on some level. And it's asking those conversations that maybe you wouldn't get into not in a pandemic, in a respectful way, that makes people feel safe and, seen. I think that's the most important part. It's very hard to be visible when you're at home, not visible in the office, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's really fascinating. And I love that you kind of provided a tool right there, because how are you today is so different than how are you? How
Exactly.
are you? Maybe I'm having a hard day today. And I think we all have a little bit of this right now.
Absolutely.
It's nice to hear empathy from leaders, colleagues, really anybody right now. So that is a tool that I will be using.
Yeah, good.
And Jill, I know that you are a futurist, and this is one that I had to really narrow my questions down because I would love to chat about this. My question for you is, who will come out ahead and who will fall by the wayside once we're out of the woods here?
Ooh, okay. These are my favorite questions to 10 minutes is not going to do it, but I will say we ain't coming out of the woods anytime soon, first of all. Secondly, we're not coming out of the woods the way we came in, right? We got to go, there's no way to it, but through it, right? We are in the wilderness right now, and we are coming out on a different side than we came in. And I think that insight alone is going to be a defining line for individuals, for companies, for brands, for businesses. Are you trying to get back to what you were doing before, or are you moving forward into what is ahead? And I think, that's the delta, that's the gap. And it looks different for every business. It looks different for every brand. It looks different for every industry. It looks different for every individual. But I think, the great defining way to not come through this is to do what you were doing before, and to solve tomorrow's problems with, yesterday's solutions. It's just not, it's uncharted territory, truly. Which, you hope that, my God, certainly, and I don't want to diminish the fact that there is a lot of pain right now. There's a lot of unemployment. People are dying at really rapid rates. For me as a Black woman, Black people are dying. That is something that's very, very serious. And it's, COVID is not discriminating, but it is shining a light on injustices that were systemically present to begin with. And that gives us an opportunity to bring some light to those cracks and to say, you know what, the system was not working in a lot of ways. And I think, it's shining a light on the way that we work, on how things are changing, on how, everything from the education system to commuting to, fair wages and compensation. Imagine a world where people had fair compensation and layoffs happen and there's a path to, it's just that it's endless. And I'd have to believe, as not just also a futurist, but an optimist, that there has to be some good that comes from this. And that's on us to make sure that we're having those conversations and pushing that narrative and pushing for a better way out of the woods. So we're not going back to what we came from. Yeah.
That is so inspiring. Listening, I wanted every sentence that you said just to be a quote that I hold with me, because it feels really good to hear that message right now when these are really dark times. But like you said, we as individuals, we as companies, any size, can do our part to find the good and make the good. So I love that. So my last question for you is a question that I'm going to ask everybody that I interview for this series. And that is, what advice do you give people that is especially relevant during this time?
I think to go back to the oxygen mask, we have to first and foremost take care of ourselves. And I think that, this is showing, I mentioned Glennon Doyle earlier, and she has a part in her book where she's talking about the snow globe. And it's like, when you're in a snow globe, you can just have all this stuff floating around and you don't have to think about what's in the center, and you're looking about how beautiful the snow globe is. And this is a moment where the snow is settled and we have an opportunity to really look at the center and, ask ourselves the questions like, do you like what you see in the center for yourself, for your business, for your brand, for your community? And what are you going to do if you don't? What are the things that you're not liking about that, and what are you doing about it? Right. And I think, again, not to put pressure, we're in a pandemic, there's trauma, there's grief, there's a lot going on. And sometimes what you can do is watch Netflix all day and, pour yourself a glass of wine at the end of the night and say, I got through the day. And that is okay too. But I do think that all that energy that we've sent out in the world, we have to turn around and put on ourselves. And I think that if everyone, as an individual, can do that, it will help us just bring our best selves to any business problem that we're trying to solve, any community problem we're trying to solve, and any support that we're just trying to give for our family, for our friends, for our communities. So yeah, I think that's the stuff that I'm marinating on over here at my house with my feelings. And, really just try to focus on what's that ripple and what's that circle of influence and the thing that you can control. Go out and do that. Don't try to solve the problems that aren't yours to fix, right?
Oh, totally. Yes. There is a lot of comfort to be found when you can kind of make that perspective shift.
Exactly.
Oh, Jill, I'm so grateful to you. This was such a special conversation, so many valuable pieces of insight, and I know I'm going to watch it over and over because there's a lot to be gained, even though I think we did keep it a little bit shorter. I hope we did. I don't have a timer.
Yeah, good.
Regardless, this was a huge success in my book, and I am so grateful to you for taking the time. I know you are incredibly busy.
Oh, I'm so happy to talk to you, Jessa. So wonderful. And I love what you guys are doing at Click and, the non-conference, what was it called?
Business Unusual Conference.
Unusual. I know. There's something cute there. Yes. The Business Unusual Conference. I think, we talked about this a little bit before the recording, but, it takes a lot of guts just to get out there and do something quickly and say, it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be messy. And so, kudos to you guys for getting work out there and making a difference. So.
Thank you. We definitely are leaning into the discomfort that comes with being a little bit scrappy, but we get to do things like talk to people like you because we're doing that. So
I love it.
Yeah, it's been fun. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jill. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Jessa. Bye.
Bye.